Alright, I left the clay to heat up overnight under 2 lamps, as you can see. Heated with 100-watt bulbs, which you can't buy anymore because of the EPA. Sorry, just pisses me off. Anyway, I've got the clay softened up. Now I'm going to start cutting it apart and putting it in a container. And the way I cut it apart is I use a pastry cutter. And it works really well because it's got a round top so you don't hurt your hand, and you're not using a knife, which can cut your hand. Alright, I got the clay down here on the table, and I'll show you how I do this. What you need to do is you need to make it smaller pieces so that it's easily heated up, and so that you can also work it. It's a little harder when you got a big block like this, so what I'm doing is marking the halfway point and the width of the cutter. So just going to go down that way. And I just cut the clay. Right down the middle. That's why you heat it up, so you can do this easily. It's an oil-based clay, so it does react to heat. You can't fire this kind of clay because it's a non-fireable clay. You try to fire it and it's just going to burn. But anyway, and it never hardens either. So I'm working on Captain Lovewell, which I did back last year. Started them anyway, and it's still soft and pliable, so that I can continue to work on it without having to cover it up with wet rags and keeping it damp and all that stuff. But you see why I cut the clay down into small pieces. Makes it easier to handle and shape and stuff like that. Alright, I'm going to quit talking and get busy. I'm not putting a lot of detail into the legs because, quite honestly, it's going to be covered with leather, and he's going to have socks underneath, which will take away some of the detail, and then the leather on top of that will deteriorate the fine detail of the legs too. But you still need the shape of the legs, at least, to transfer through the clothing. So that's all I'm doing, is building a base for the clothing. My distant uncle, Ed Frotton, out of Utah, he's an incredible sculptor, probably one of the best in the country. And the way I'm related to him is my Mormon ancestors came across the prairie in 1847 to Salt Lake. My great-great-great-grandfather, Alfred Harper, was a Mormon, one of the original Mormon pioneers, and he had more than one wife. That was something that the Mormon Church practiced back then. They don't practice it anymore, but they did practice it back then. And so I'm related to one wife, and Ed Frotton is related to another wife, and from the same great-great-grandfather. So I think I got the genes from my great-great-grandfather as well as my uncle did. But Ed Frotton helped me at the beginning of my career in sculpting, and one of the things he told me is if you don't have structure under the clothing, you might as well forget the clothing, because all it'll be is just a bag of cloth. Well, I always remembered that. And so all I'm doing is shaping the leg until it looks familiar. That's all sculptors do. They just move shadows around until they look familiar. That's basically all we are shadow shapers. Okay, one way I'm going to match the toes of the foot is to make an outline of the foot that I've got. And how do I do that? Okay, well, I just cut into the foam and underneath the foot like this, because there's no wire underneath here. It's just foam and clay. So I just do that. Okay, there is wire right there, which is fine. And then I'll take a piece of paper and slip it under. And all I'm looking for is the shape. If I can find a pen, I will draw, there we are, the outline of the foot. And that way I can match the shape and the size of the foot with the foot over here. Now, I'm going to cut this one out with an X-Acto knife. There we go. It's sort of like making a template. And then I can turn it over and match the shape. And it's pretty well matched right now, just by my eye. So, but this is just a way you can double check and make sure that the shape of one foot is the same as the shape of the other foot, because quite honestly, you don't want to have one shaped differently from the other. going to quit this for this week and pick it up next week when I'll do the leggings on his legs here and the flap of leather, and it's going to start really coming into shape now. I just needed to get the base finished out, because if you don't have a good foundation for what you're working on, you might as well forget the upper part. So I like to work up. Alright, that's going to be it for today. Have a great weekend, everybody, and happy sculpting, so to speak.